Gaming NBS episode 178 coming to you Wednesday, February 14th. Day of Love. Welcome to Gaming NBS Tabletop RPG Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brett. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, folks. How's it going, Sean?
It's going, Brett.
That's awesome.
It's going.
You still going to make Gary Con with me?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah. So if you back out, people will be sad.
Really?
Just I think Ray Otis is going to be there. Lots of cool people.
What?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Get your ass there.
Get your ass to Gary Con.
Exactly. Oh, and speaking of other things, announcement-wise, because we kind of jumped into that there without any, honest to God, preamble. I have, I was giving myself shit, and Sean has given me the same shit around, rereading some of the rule books. So I went through and I cracked open my 5e DMG, and I got to the last third, chapters 8 and 9. And by God, there's some damn good stuff in there. Sanity, madness, alternate ways to for spellcasting, points instead of slots, and other cool shit. So it's one of those things a lot of times in the DMG, after having read an umpteen number of Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's guides over the years, you kind of assume a lot of the stuff is very much the same. And it's just neat to see some of the things like, boy, I wonder if I could make it do this. Oh, wow, there's already a thing in here that already does that. Kevin and I were chatting about it because he's going to run an Avalon game for me, Chris, Emily, and Tom once we're done recording our Dresden Files thing. So it was interesting to go through it and look it over. So I mentioned this on the show. I just wanted to say I did take my own advice on that one and cracked open that book and rereading some and like, God damn, there's some cool stuff in there. I don't have to modify a few things. I can actually take this piece and use it myself. So that's kind of nice. Someone did the work for me.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's just nuts.
I'm used to having to beat the shit out of stuff myself, so it's nice that I don't have to. That's nice.
Right.
All right. You got a little Paladinhood for us this week?
We do have Paladinhood.
All right.
I have Henry Grady from Heroes and Adventures out of Nova Scotia, Canada, doing some good work worthy of Paladinhood.
Very cool.
All right, let's go there.
Do it.
All right. Welcome to Paladinhood, where we highlight gamers and people helping others through the use of tabletop games. I'm with Henry Grady today from Heroes and Adventures. Welcome to Paladinhood, Henry.
Thanks, Sean. I'm glad to be here.
Tell us a little about now. I ran into Henry online through Twitter. He followed us, and I looked at the highlight of their Twitter account, and it said, Heroes and Adventurers is a safe and all-inclusive recreation program using tabletop role-playing games to help people develop critical life skills. And I said, I got to know more about this. I got to see if I can get them on the podcast. So can you tell us a little bit about that, Henry? What's that all mean?
A lot of people, we sit down, we play tabletops, we play D&D, whatever. You don't realize that you're gaining a whole lot of social learning through doing that. I mean, your math skills improve, your writing, reading, comprehension, that stuff improves. But you get social skills out of it too. So you get like team building, leadership, your critical thinking, problem solving, all of that stuff falls into that play-based learning idea. So you don't really realize you're learning because you're having fun. So it's not like going to school where you're like, oh, I'm gonna read a book and I'm gonna learn some stuff. It's like, no, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna play a game. And over time, that game's actually gonna help me develop some really critical life skills that I can use in the real world outside of the gaming room. We've been developing our program steadily since 2013.
So when you are looking for players or game masters or both, are you guys only playing D&D, or what game are you guys?
We've got currently, let's see if I hope I don't forget anything, because we do have a little bit of everything going. I just wrapped a Dungeon World campaign. We've had guys running Pathfinder, we've had guys running Star Wars, we've had basically any tabletop game we can get our hands on, we will run. We currently have a Fate table going. I think 1 or 2 Savage Worlds campaigns going, and then homebrew stuff, other stuff. We have one young guy who's joining one of our kids' tables who actually hacked 5e to play Voltron, which is cool. If I was like, that's awesome. If you want to do it, do it. So, but yeah, we're open to any type of game that we can get our hands on, and we do look for. You do take some time and read through them and look for ways that games that really facilitate what we want to do. So where we want to build these critical skills. So we look to games that focus more on that than, say, metagaming or anything like that, where you're going to just try to build the best possible character so you can kill the most stuff and acquire the most treasure. That's not really what the direction we want to go in. We want to get more to the using your skills to problem solve situations and stuff like that. So
when you look for players or game masters, are you looking for anybody specific? Like, is this targeted towards young folks, young adults? Do you have a target demographic?
We're open to anyone, and we want to keep it that way because we want to be able to build that community from young to old. Our focus is on youth, getting youth involved, getting youth in to get into tabletop gaming, or to get them out and get them social. We do have quite a bit of focus on our youth gaming program, and we've been developing that steadily for the past year or so. We only actually got our first children's table in 2016, which really gave us the idea to pursue that more. So as for we will welcome anyone, we'll figure out a place to put you, we'll give you all the supplies you need and teach you everything you need to know. So if somebody wants to come in and volunteer and they have no idea how to play D&D, that's not a big deal. We can find you something to do.
Now, you are located in Nova Scotia, Canada.
Yep.
And you guys posted this as a service learning opportunity. Is there significance with understanding that it's a component of that?
There is, because locally our community college has a human services diploma program in it for basically all aspects of human services for the frontline workers. So part of their learning requirement is that service learning component, and we offer that, and it can be used through even teachers' assistants or educational assistants to further their number of hours for their next level. So we do focus on, if we can get people with that human services background to come in, then we can use them. Basically, we want to exploit their skills because they have a skill set that is unique to exactly what we're doing, and it's nice to be able to get some people in to do that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and a lot of I simply put that out there because I don't know in a lot of other countries if it's how people will relate to understanding what that tie-in is. Is there something that you have to work with, like the government, in order to meet certain curriculum in order to be a service learning opportunity?
We've got our nonprofit society status, and with our documentation, we do require, I think our biggest things are criminal background checks, and just a number of hours I think is required. Not 100% sure how it all works. That's more of John's field of stuff. He sets it up, but as far as I know, as long as we're meeting government standards, so criminal record checks, background checks, creating a safe space, so no bullying, no ageism, racism, any of that, all that is not allowed, and as long as we're following those guidelines and principles, and we can, and it's hard to quantify what we do and put it on paper, but we do document over time improvements with certain players and how they've come to advance beyond where they were. And we've had guys go from really, I don't want to say nonverbal because they were verbal, they were just really, really quiet, guys who don't talk openly in public, who have gone on to, a year later, they run a full table with a full group of people, and if anybody who's ever DM knows, you can't be a quiet DM. That doesn't work. So they're game leading, they're leading role, and they take on a leadership role. So it really pushes them out of their shell and gives them the confidence they need to further develop that.
So how many folks are actually involved in the actual heroes and adventurers, kind of what I would consider like staff folks?
So like our volunteers, I want to say we're right around, I think, 15 volunteers now in total, because we've got 9 game leaders, I think around 6 game coaches, our leadership coach, and then 3 program leaders. So myself, John Hutt, and Gorda Hearn, who are program leaders. So we kind of do all the bureaucratic side of everything.
So what is the difference between a coach and a game leader?
So a game leader would be your typical DM or GM. They're your guys running the tables, and then your coaches, both they act as players and then in-game coaches. So they're guiding the other players on what they can do, what are some good options, and they're not it's not to the extent like, don't do that, that's a bad idea. It's like, think about the consequences if you do that. So it's not, we won't tell you not to do something, we'll let you do that, but their idea there is to kind of get them to maybe think about their actions before they make them, and to help with character creation, stuff like that for new players. Game coaches, I have one. She sits pretty much right beside me every game, and she's a bit of a co-DM. She'll throw me hooks if things are getting dry, which really helps as a DM. But she's also there to help players, so she's guiding them. We have a system of host rules that are enforced by game leaders and game coaches. So not like traditional host rules where they're gameplay focused, but they're more behavioral focused. So what we expect and what we want to see from players as the night goes on or as they're playing.
So what's the story behind Heroes and Adventures? Where did the idea come from?
Like I said, John Hutt he worked for Canadian Mental Health at the time. And he basically, I think he started out in the back of the local game store then, which was the Batter's Box, which had been around since we were all teenagers around here. So he started out one night there. They asked him to run 4E. He came in and he started running it, him and one other guy. And John, being from that human services background, was like, I can use this. I can use this for programming. I can use this to further develop the skills that I'm trying to get out of my clientele. So he went from there, started working with the Mental Health Association. He got some funding there to buy books, dice, whatever, and started to develop the program, and very slowly at first. So they went from, I think when they first moved to mental health, they jumped from 6 players who were playing at the local game shop to 12 players instantly, and grew steadily up to, I think they were around 25 players when they left Canadian Mental Health, which was right around the time I joined. So, but like I said, John, having his own daughter has some learning disabilities and autism, so he started seeing that he was also working with some folks with autism, and realized that, wait, this really, really works. He saw, and there's articles too, right? There's a lot of articles that float around online and different major publications about the benefits of tabletop gaming, and it's like, well, we should be using that. And where we're at, we're in a fairly small town. I think we're around 30,000 people. So we don't have a lot of those resources readily available. So if you want them, you can either go beg somebody to do it for you, or you can go do it yourself.
Now, this is all face-to-face for the most part, correct, Henry?
This is all face-to-face for the most part, yep.
How can others help? What are you looking for help? Is it money, resources? What does that look like?
Money's always good. Anybody who wants to donate to us can actually donate to Colchester East Hants Public Library and just mark it for Heroes and Adventurers, and then you get a full tax donation because it's a library, so they're an actual charity, and we're a partner with them, so we run programs through them. We can always use volunteers, supplies. I mean, dice and books are always in short supply. We do try to keep everything 100% free, so if you're coming in to play with us, we don't want you to have that $90 to $100 upfront cost to play D&D. But
so time wise, when do you guys do this? What if I were to show up and say, well, I'm interested? Can I just show up?
Yeah, you can just show up. We run Tuesday nights at the Truro Library from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Anybody's welcome to come out, and if people just want to come out and observe, more than welcome to. That's one of our big things. Is we're very open to people dropping in and checking us out and seeing what we're doing and what we're all about. But yeah, if you want to fly up from Wisconsin and drop in, all power to you, brother.
I would love to get to Canada, man. There's a lot of people I know up there that are really, really good people, and I wish I could get up there and just hop from one town to the next and just meet some of the folks I've met online. So
it's good. I'm glad our Canadian people are representing well.
Oh, of course, it's the nice, the niceties of those that are Canada for sure.
Yeah.
So, do you guys make the parents sign anything specific, any waivers or anything like that?
We give them a copy of our house rules, so they have a behavioral expectation. We're working on a waiver. Like I said, we've only had a kids program up and running since last fall, so it's still getting things figured out. But yeah, we give them a copy of our house rules so they know what we're expecting from their kids.
Well, excellent. That's great stuff. We're going to have links to the Facebook page and the Twitter handle for Heroes and Adventures if you're interested. Can they just reach out through one of those channels then for you, Henry?
Yeah. I'm connected all the time. Everything's run through my personal cell phone, so if you message me on Twitter, I think I'm pretty quick to respond. And yeah, anybody who wants to either get involved or if you want to talk to us about how we're doing what we're doing and tips and whatever you want to discuss, that kind of stuff on how to do this yourself in your own town, we are more than happy to help because we think it would be great to see this go global. See every town have something like this available for their youth and their general public.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Henry, and letting us know about Heroes and Adventures. Again, we'll have links in the show notes for everybody to take a look at that. A cause certainly worthy of Paladinhood. Thanks so much for being on, Henry.
Thank you for having us. It was great.
Excellent stuff.
This is very cool.
I
love hearing about this stuff. People just doing, doing good things with the gaming hobby and helping improve others and helping other people, just get better at life. That's just awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Henry, for being on the show. Of course, as always, we'll have links in the show notes to a couple of their online resources. So if you're in the Nova Scotia area, or you feel like contributing or helping to folks in the Nova Scotia area, we'll have that info. So there, yeah, great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Shall we random encounter?
Random encounter. All righty. Random. Maybe not so random.
Well, we've got Blake Ryan up first, so I'll start here. G'day,
do we want
fellas.
to do Blake? Do we want to do Blake first or voicemail?
Oh, yeah, I forgot the voicemail. Do the voicemail.
Right.
Hit it. We'll do that. Blake, just hold on, brother. We'll get right to you.
Right. 1 second. Okay, 1 second.
Listened to episode.
Oh, I got to start that over. Hold on.
Listened.
Hold on.
Hello, you.
Hold on.
Hello, you.
Blast it all.
Hello, you sexy BSers. It's Stefan Dragonspawn again, and I just listened to episode 176 about sanity, and almost lost my mind on it. No, not really. And while it was fresh in my mind, I just thought that I'd weigh in on this. And I think you may have forgotten or skipped over maybe a possibility on other systems. Most of the Cthulhu Mythos RPG games out there, or even Ravenloft, will have some kind of mechanic or system to deal with sanity or insanity, including Warhammer Fantasy. Some of the other popular D20 systems, including Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, etc. You could, without tacking on any additional mechanic, you could use fear. A lot of creatures have, like dragons, will inspire fear. It could lead to some kind of insanity or mental problems. If you're faced with a a mind flayer ripping your friend's brain from their heads, like Brett likes to mention, it seems, that could definitely cause you to be afraid of things that would cause, that you encounter, even if you just see a squid for sale in the market or some fish, you suddenly, even that smell could instigate flashbacks and so forth. And even in Savage Worlds, in systems that are fantasy-based, you have fear as well. So you encounter a ghost, specters, certain types of monsters will have the fear monstrous ability, which forces the players to make a spirit check, and that can cause phobias, scars, permanent mental scars. It's not necessarily a system that's tacked on. It's already in there, maybe simply not fleshed out as much as a Cthulhu setting. So I just thought I'd add that in. That was a fairly good point. And even some settings like Imago Mortis, which is a horror kind of setting as well, deals with sanity in a little different way. They even have a diagram like a 3-armed spiral, and whenever you fail it, I won't go into the exact details, but there can be various effects, like having nightmares, being a little slower on the uptake.
Oh, and then unfortunately he cut off, and then he called back in. I got the rest.
Okay, cool.
Let me see.
I guess I rambled on a bit too long there. I'm sorry. But just to wrap up real quickly, the Imago Mortis does have a slightly different way of dealing with insanity, which is kind of cool as well. If you want to look into it, it's a Savage World setting by Gramel Publishing. So anyway, enjoyed the episode immensely, liked the banter, and hopefully we'll be able to see you guys at a convention eventually, both of you, and we'll see about that. And keep on gaming. Good night and good gaming all.
All right.
Stefan had a really good point, and I didn't think to bring it up, is fear. Even dragon fear and spells like that and so on in a game system that doesn't necessarily have sanity. A lot of them have a fear mechanic of some kind, even if it's only from a spell or a monster. So if you don't want to create a mechanic, a brand new sanity mechanic or a tracker in that way, finding out how the game you're playing deals with fear and then using that more often when you run into something that should, in a Cthulhu game, you go, oh my god, I see this thing, therefore I am going insane. You can simply use the fear mechanic to help use that. I like that. I hadn't thought about that. That's very cool. Thank you, Stefan.
Yeah, thanks, Stefan.
All right. Now, Blake. There we go. Blake Ryan. Good day, fellas. Adversarial GMs. As part of the Game Master's job to entertain and challenge the players. If the challenges are too easy, the players will get bored and not pursue their goals. I've had GMs who only do hard encounters instead of a variety of easy, medium, and hard encounters. And this is no fun either. I need to balance success with the reality that some stuff in the world is too powerful right now. If you're running Ravenloft or Dark Sun, the majority of NPCs or creatures will screw you over in some way, given the opportunity. Some players may see this as adversarial, but really you are playing the competitive nature of the setting. However, the players can use the NPCs or monster groups against each other, too. As Brett mentioned, part of the problem is the perception of adversarial GMs is the lack of setting the scene or fleshing out the story before the encounter. Bad example. Dragon rocks up within 60 feet of the party. Party presumes they can take it on, and some characters die. Players howl, adversarial GM. Good example. Several days ago, the characters heard about a dragon in the area while chatting in the village. A day later, the herbalist offers a potion versus dragon breath or cloak of invisibility cheap because they are leaving the area. Then, while traveling, the dragon is spotted grabbing some cattle. Now you've had 3 bits of information to let you know this dragon is nasty, and you need to use tactics. The flip side is no dragon in their right mind is going to land in front of the party before they have picked off a few PCs or softened them up with a breath weapon. They live for a long time for a reason. Another issue is people think It's okay. It's okay. It's evil. It will try to destroy you. In reality, many intelligent foes will go, okay, you fought your way down here, so you must be competent. How about I offer you a truce and a bunch of treasure so you can go slay a mutual enemy? This is more realistic for their intelligence, and recurring foes make a better story. Some game masters metagame information to screw over their players. But this would mean the NPCs take precautions that counter the preparation the characters do, despite having no way they would gain that knowledge. Yes, some villains have minions and magical spying, but there's no way they can know everything. It's just a metagaming arms race then. That's the adversarial, and basically, the GM is just stroking their own ego. GMs that just run combat to kill characters who never knock them out or take their stuff or ruin their reputation may be seen as adversarial. But really, it may be an opportunity for them to learn some options. You can give them some ideas during the mid-session break or even after the game. That's pretty cool. Thanks, Blake. That was insightful, man. I like that.
Yeah.
That's all you had to say. There's yeah.
Yeah.
We had two good things there. Stefan had a good idea, and Blake's got some good stuff. And all you say is yeah. Damn, man.
I know.
All right. You read Skies.
All right. Sky Slayton. Hey, guys. So I waited to add this point to the Hidden Hit Points episode, and I'm glad I did because I think it's partially related to 171. To start out, Hidden Hit Points would work if it's a Session 0 discussion, but then again, most things are. Also, this is D&D based. Personally, I would not use hidden hit points because that number on the character sheet is a numerical representation of how fucked up your character looks / is. So if Fightor, Rocky, is at 2 hit points after fighting Barbarian Apollo Creed, Cleric Adrian will be able to see that he got proper fucked.
Well, Sky, you speaking my language there. Keep going.
On top of this, characters with any type of healing or combat experience would be able to know how hurt someone or something is. How well they know would be up to the GM, and if you went over this in Session 0, it should be fine. When my monsters get close to death, I tell my players, it looks like one more hit could put it down. Okay, now, on to how this combines DBZ Fusion style with Episode 171. Y'all define adversarial GMing well. I would argue that hidden hit points would be an unnecessary withholding of information that the player needs to supplement the information their character would know, thus making it harder for the player to be in character because the game world just got that much harder to imagine.
That, Sky, is fucking brilliant, dude. That makes sense. I buy that. That's good. Keep going, Sean.
So to recap, talk about stuff in Session 0. Then if anyone gets butthurt, it's more about them not keeping to the agreement the table made. Thanks, Sky Slayton. P.S. Brett, you aren't wrong or adversarial. It's just that your playstyle is from an earlier generation of gaming. It's like the scene from Back to the Future, Enchantment Under the Sea dance. You are still playing the Earth Angel style of D&D, and newer players are Johnny Be Good.
Now I hate you, Sky. I think that's God. I think I was just insulted in a very nice way.
Brett plays Earth Angel style.
Well, if I have to. Damn, brother. Ow. Right in the ego he got me. Well said, though. I do like the withholding information. That, and this ties directly to the sanity component, too, where I think I got shit from Jared Rashler about running a game with no hit points, but obviously having sanity points. Sometimes, I guess what you're saying, Sky, and I'm buying this right now, is that those numbers on the sheet help you play the character, right? And I get it. That totally makes sense. I like that. All right. Next up is Thomas Hook. Holy cow, I think he's got 3 episodes worth of stuff here, so buckle in, grab yourself a coffee or beer, and here we go. First on hidden hit points, after bringing up the subject with my players here at the Beholder's Horde Gaming Group, I feel you must have failed a sanity check after using some zip zaps. I'm just kidding. Evil giggling ensues, of course. Actually, I don't remember who said it, but I must agree with them. Must have been me.
Right.
It really
probably me.
It's really the removal of hit points, not hiding them. This could work with a replacement mechanic, say like levels of health, just off the cuff. Good, fair, poor, really hurting, down then dead. Maybe you could have great for when temporary hit points are in place. This would add lots of upkeep for the DM, but could also allow him to customize encounters for theatrics and content. The NPCs would also be the same scale, allowing allowing the DM the chance to make sure an encounter accomplished what he expected or needed it to do. As DMs, we have all had that awesome encounter planned. You think to yourself, this will be great. The players will love this. It'll be so cool. Then the players get initiative, and well, so much for the encounter. It's over before it really began. Either through great tactical planning by the players or the dice gods favor the PCs, you get the idea. Shit happens. What about healing? On the above scale, I would say low spell levels would bring you up 1 condition level. Higher spells might bring you up 2 or even 3. I think it would be done. I think it could be done. It would be fun with the right mechanic in place. Oh, wait, there already is one. It's called hit points. You dick. I, for one, like hit points and feel it's a tactical tool, not so much a metagaming issue. We have to remember the roots of D&D. It started as a 1 soldier per player war game. In any other war game, would you hide my resources like tanks or a number of foot soldiers from me? I don't want to get too lengthy, so hopefully I'll been able to convey my thoughts well enough. Fine, I'm wrong. He continues on. Although I've started what might be called the hidden initiative, I have the players roll 4 or 5 initiative rolls, and I mark them down before the game even starts. This allows me to seamlessly flow into an encounter without the typical, okay, roll for initiative. If the monster gets initiative, I'm like, Larry, 2 wolf jump out from the bushes and 1 bites your leg for 3 hit points. Mo, you see what happened, what do you do? Or Curly, a goblin readies his bow and aims at you, what are you doing? Then I proceed in order from there. My players are first like, what? But soon they could see the method to my madness, and they got on board with how well the encounters flow. As for show 176, I think the use of Insanity can allow for some really great role-playing opportunities for the right players. Brett mentioned that most of the time when he tells the player that their PC is going insane, the player chooses to be the homicidal maniac or something else over the edge. I would say this because that's what Insanity looks like to this player. I like the use of the whole table discussion as a way for all the players and DM to get a feel for what's planned and expected. I agree with Sean on how he uses
it. What?
I'm sorry.
Rewind, please. Say that again.
It's subspace transmission. It's really garbled here. Something about agreement with how.
The crowd already reads the cue cards.
Damn it! The year of the Kelly. All right, I agree with Sean on how he uses the descriptors and what the PC is seeing or feeling to set the tone for this and future encounters or episodes. A lot of the things mentioned were either disabilities or what might be called challenges in today's world, and not mental illnesses. Excuse me.
Gaming and BS are not medical doctors, physicians, or treat mental illness, physical illness, or anything they're related.
Yeah, that's true. Best we could do is threaten people with stuff. We can't now. That's about it. He continues. D&D is now being used as team-building workshops and even as therapy in many circles. One just has to Google Dungeons & Dragons as therapy to see the kinds of applications being used for. Or see Paladinhood earlier this show.
That's right.
Which would make a great Paladinhood segment. Paladinhood is a great addition to the show, by the way. I like it a lot. Good job, guys. That one is all Sean. I'm going to say that right now. Just again, that was Sean's idea to pull that in there. So,
shucks.
Good work, man.
Shucks, guys.
Again, it's the year of the Kelly. What are you going to do?
Oh, my God.
Now on to something really controversial. Adversarial GMing. I've been playing since the early 80s. I must say, Brett, you're on the money when you spoke about how the early adventurers tried to kill the PCs, but this was the adventurers, not the DM. All adventures should have death as a consequence for poor choices. If I said it once, I said it 100 times. DMs don't kill PCs. Players kill PCs. For me, an adversarial DM is one who is against the players, not the player characters. Let's face it, if my PC goes in a dungeon or hunts dragons, he could die. D&D started as a war game. It has now evolved into so much more. Exploring, as in the West Marches style of play, we have the mysteries to solve. In the Who Did It style of game, we can rule a kingdom with political style games. There's so many different kinds of adventures out there, and I've played in bunches of them. All with the D&D label, and all with death as a possibility. The game is Dungeons & Dragons, not coffee shops and theme bars.
What?
I always tell my players the adventure can kill you if you let it. I, as the DM, will not save your PC from death just because. If you run into the waiting mouth of a purple worm wearing nothing but a smile and carrying only a bag to get the treasure, you're probably going to die.
And you probably should have a sanity check if you're only going in there.
Wearing a smile and carrying a bag to get the treasure? Yes, probably.
You're buck naked and going towards a purple worm. Woo! Party!
He continues, I don't think a little bit of railroad is adversarial simply because some players can be adversarial, and no matter how many hints you give them, they just won't go there on their own. A good adventure is some sandbox with a clear path when needed, and some short segues to keep the adventure moving along, and lots of luck. the game does use random die rolls for some things after all. As always, it was another great show, and I'm looking forward to the next time and getting into game immersion. Well, sweet, man. That was, Mr. Hook, that was lengthy and well thought out, sir. Thank you very much.
Well done, yes, indeed.
Well done, indeed.
Indeed.
Over to you, Sean.
Dave Wynn, part of the winning team.
There you go. I like it.
Greetings, Brett and Sean. With regards to adversarial GMs, I am completely against them. I guess some would be for them. Who knows?
Yeah, some idiot out there is. Carry on.
I love it. Bring it on. First, I agree with Brett.
We're used to that, though. People agree with me all the time. It's the flip of it that's weird.
Touché. That playing in a completely deadly game full of traps and pitfalls can be fun. The players need to know what they're in for ahead of time. Second, my main thought is that the GM's motivation and their antagonist NPC's motivation should not be the same thing. This is incredibly hard to do. As a GM, my goal should be to facilitate a world where evil antagonists are thwarting the PCs at every turn. My NPCs should not have knowledge that I, as a GM, have about the PC's playstyles but let me rephrase that. As a GM, my goal should be to facilitate a world where evil antagonists are thwarting the PCs at every turn, but my NPC should not have knowledge that I, as a GM, have about the PC's playstyles or their nonchalance about checking for dragons hiding in corners. Instead, the adversary must gather this information on his own or through scouts or divination. Likewise, any adversarial GM is trying to play a game where they win, whereas not all PCs are trying to win. Winning. From Dave.
From Dave Win. Yes, I get it.
Yeah, win-win. Win-win-win. Some PCs just want a beer and pretzels dungeon crawl to get better loot and level up. As for me, on the other hand, I prefer to have character development and great role-playing opportunities. I'm not usually trying to just kill orcs and goblins for the sake of conquering them. Because of this, an adversarial GM is not competing for something that I'm not, and since the GM controls the NPCs, the world, and usually has final say in rules disputes, I'm kind of screwed from the start. Come on, Jay. Darn cat. Jay. Can you hear him now?
Yeah, now I can hear him. Now he's gotten loud.
Blast it all.
Normally I can't hear him at all. He's just kind of roaming around. Sean's got a couple of cats, and normally I'll see one roaming around the background or something, and for whatever reason now, this one's loud.
The voice of Litterbox Studio. Okay. My apologies, everybody. I think the solution then is to have both players and the GM talk before the campaign about what they both want out of the game, as well as their expectations. That way the GM learns that no one is expecting them to flaunt how clever they are at setting unreasonable traps. Sorry for length. Looking forward to your immersion topic, and we'll see you at GaryCon.
You know what I think is interesting is we've said this, a number of listeners have brought this up. Excuse me, you know I said it 1,000 times, is the episode 0 or session 0, not episode, session 0, where you talk. And it's the standard RPG joke is it's a social thing, and people aren't always very good at being social. And it isn't just like people socially awkward and so forth, but being willing to say, this is what I expect to do, are you okay with that? And being therefore willing to make compromises. When we talk about an earlier style of GMing, it was, in my experience, very common for you as the player, a new player with a group, to have to figure out the Game Master style. No one told you. You would figure out that, oh, Brett likes to murder the fuck out of everybody. Oh, Sean won't kill your character no matter what. Oh,
Must squash that rumor.
Yeah, or this is how Phil always runs like that. Oh, Sneezak does this, and hey, Eileen does it this way. You would figure that stuff out. Very rarely, I don't ever remember having a game master tell me, this is how I run my game when I was much younger. Until I got into college, did anybody bother to say that? Usually because I would ask them specifically, because I learned that by that point there's certain types of gaming I just don't fucking like. I would ask people, hey, so how do you like to run? And I go, oh, that sounds lovely. Do you want to play with me? Busy on Saturdays, every Saturday, forever. Sorry, I can't. Or whatever happened. So, interesting. It's there's so much power in that discussion. Just saying what you like, what you don't like, and what you expect to happen in a very general sense. There's so much power in that in this hobby. It's amazing to me.
It's kind of like sex.
I'm trying to think.
Awkward pause.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, Sean, it is. Yeah, so enough time spent trying to figure something out, it just gets even more awkward. Okay, on that, so going back to G+, Jared Rasher steps up and says, as Randy, talking about Randy Farmer, the old school GM, as Randy rightly points out, most GMs have a portfolio that includes portraying adversaries, so they will, technically, be presenting an adversarial situation to the players. This, of course, is back to Randy's post that we mentioned last episode. I think the best functional definition I can come up with for what an adversarial GM would be modified by assuming a degree of portraying adversaries in the game. In other words, if you have to note that the GM is adversarial, that implies the GM is employing more of an adversarial role than the baseline assumption that the game assumes.
Ah.
That's a damn well thought out. I might have to read that again after the show, Jared.
Quite profound.
Very nice. Because of that, it's going to be hard to pin down the exact definition of adversarial without going into the assumptions of the game and what the game instructs you to do as a GM. Damn good point, Jared.
Indeed.
That said, most modern games seem to assume that you are going to let your players make informed decisions without the GM intentionally obfuscating information or using technicalities to trap players. Discussing games I have run or played in at my local convention recently reminds me of similar situations and the degree of adversarial GMing might be involved. And the degree of adversarial GMing that might be involved. The first convention I went to, I played in a game where I told the GM that I was going to attack the villain in the room with my sword. The GM informed me that I was 10 feet away from the villain. I had failed to ask how far away I was, and I had failed to say I move up to hit him. So my character, despite being a 7th level fighter, stood 10 feet away from the villain, swinging my sword in place, and that was my turn. To me, that was an adversarial GM. I have stories similar to that, Jared. Either I have had or friends of mine have had. I've met that asshole game master. Yeah, that's adversarial in my mind. On the other hand, I killed 4 out of 6 hunters in my convention Monster of the Week game. I didn't mislead any of the players. We went over exactly what would happen if they ran out of luck several times. Many times, when characters were about to do something ill-advised, I would describe the situation to them again and ask if they were sure they wanted to take the action they were about to take. For example, the hunter that was using a canister of accelerant as a bludgeon with which to hit a flaming zombie. That's usually a bad idea, kids. When we reached the end of the scenario and the hunters were dropping like flies, I didn't really feel that bad because they gave them ample opportunity to back out of some bad decisions and spent extra time reframing various situations so that they fully understood what I was detailing in the scene. So it may not be the most functional definition, but if you feel moved to add an adjective to the title, it's an indicator that the aspect of the GM's job is out of sync with the assumed baseline. I think that's some good stuff, Jared. Thanks, man. As always, good. I like it.
Indeed.
Over to you, Sean.
Matt Martinez on the same thread. One of the members of Facebook's Tabletop RPG one-shot group recently posted about a situation that came up in a game wherein a PC told the rest of the characters that he was going to send them a box of gold. Unbeknownst to the rest of the group, the players had slipped the GM a note letting him know that the gold was fake. They found out later, and when the players objected, the GM said that they never said they examined the contents of the chest. The players argued that because the nature of the PC's alliance was tenuous and full of mistrust, best practices would have assumed that they would have checked the gold, but the GM wasn't having it. Obviously, this is an example of an adversarial player, but do you guys think this also sounds like an adversarial GM move?
Yes. I absolutely think it does.
Well, I don't know, man.
This goes right to Jared's thing. I attack him with my sword. Well, you just swing your sword in the air.
Oh,
it's the same thing. Like, wait, you're telling me that my character, who is a dwarven miner and smith, who's worked with metal his entire life, picked up a fake gold box. It's actually wood painted to look like gold, and I wouldn't notice it. You're telling me that. Well, you didn't bother to check, so therefore you don't get to notice. Oh, fuck you.
Well, so that's a debate on there's a debate there.
That's the debate that Matt's talking about.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think the game, how do you play that game? So I think Jared's is a little different because
Well, what I'm saying,
I can't swing my sword and hit a freaking monster if I know I'm going to be 10 feet away and I'm just going to swing it and not be up against them.
well, it's a game master being a douchebag. This
Well,
one,
that's
is,
right.
in this other one, the game master is being a d-bag because they didn't say, all right, you want to give them a fake gold, Sean. Yes, says Sean.
Yes.
And Brett would
Yeah.
say, all right, they're going to get a check. So you roll some kind of a something to give me a baseline of what they're going to check against, because when they have it, there's a chance they're going to figure it out.
Right.
All right, yeah. Okay, everybody get the box. Everybody give me a check for a fake gold chess roll. All right, they check
Right.
and they check, and they all fail. Ha, ha, ha. And then when they're fucked later, they go, damn. Oh, that's what the check for fake golden chess roll was for. Oh, curse you, Sean. Then that's legit.
Right. I agree.
That is all about agency. You're taking away agency and knowledge and stuff and just punishing them for fun.
I agree that that's the case. But I also think that there are times when I don't know how detailed the players have to be in order when they're playing. Like how much do you assume as a game master that something is going to take place without the players explicitly explaining that?
So
I go into a room. Oh, you hit a trap. Well, I was searching for traps. Well, you never said you were searching for traps. Well, I'm a thief. That's what I do.
We've talked about this before. And one of the ways to curb that shit is as game master, or if the player doesn't think of it as game master. All right, so you take the box. So it's just a gold box. You take it, stuff in your bag. You don't look at it. You don't check it out. Nothing. You stuff in a bag. Yeah, just stuff in a bag.
Yeah, well, then you start, I think if a DM or GM started doing that, I'd be like, oh, yeah, then of course I fucking check it now.
Okay, so you just walk in the room, you don't bother to check, you just walk right in, right? Well, yeah, well no, I'm going to check. All right, you didn't say, so I'm checking. So you check and nothing happens.
Right.
So next time through you say, so do you do the check thing? Are you feeling pretty confident? What do you want to do? You don't have to do that every room. But the idea is that if you just swing your sword, dude, you're 10 feet away. You can't just swing your sword. You want to charge up, or what do you want to do?
That's a different example.
No, it's not. It's the same
Yeah,
example. You're withholding data. You did not tell the player that you're too far away to hit with a sword. You're withholding the data of something.
Yeah,
You're withholding data, and that's where I think it's a dick move.
Well, I think there's withholding data, and then there's does the person do something to unveil said data? Now, in Jared's instance, there is a physical. I see. My character would see that I am 20 feet away.
And then this other one, the idea is that the game master should have enough knowledge to say, okay, give me a deception check. You guys give me a see-through Sean's bullshit check. Oh, y'all failed.
Right.
Roll it privately. Do whatever you want to do. So, hang on.
Yep.
I got to make a couple checks. What's your skill? Okay, good. Thanks.
I agree. Now, for the freaking record, before people go, I agree with Brett. I am all on board, and I agree with Brett. But I do know sometimes players will do things, and they are assuming that everybody at the table knows what they're doing, even though they don't convey that shit.
So I've got a topic. It's not next one, but the one after, adversarial players. So we're going to cover it there in two shows. So, little forecast. Anyway, you've got some more here to do.
Yeah, where the hell am I?
Right.
Okay, so, but the GM wasn't having. Obviously, this is an example. Okay, so we answered that. RE, Shadow of the Demon Lord. I understand what Sean is saying about not needing another F20 game, but the Shadow of the Demon Lord offers a very specific experience. I had a concept for a survival horror campaign in a fantasy setting, and I initially planned to run it using D&D 5e. After I picked up Shadow of the Demon Lord, it seemed almost as if it were designed for my planned setting. Apart from that, I also really love the changes it made to the usual D20 system. I highly recommend checking it out. So, thanks, Matt. I know, and I'm sure it's a great game. I have no reservations about it. And maybe I will. Maybe. You know, Matt, I should play in Matt's game.
That's what you should do.
That's what I should do.
That way you get a chance to try it.
Yeah, all right. And it would be super awesome.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
God damn, I think we're gonna pull in this director. We're gonna go long tonight, kids. All right.
It's good. Well, it's already gonna be a little long.
Yeah, it is. Old School DM writes in and says, as I wrote before, adversarial is completely the wrong word. No one agrees with what it is, and I know it when I'll see it, is the ultimate proof of inadequate vocabulary.
We're going to get red on this one.
As Brett did at least 3 to 4 times in the podcast, let's stick with dick or other terms describing malicious or thoughtless intent. Let's stop misapplying a perfectly good term describing a highly desirable DM behavior and recasting it to be a stereotypical term of derision. We already have better words for that. I think mixing railroading in a synonym symptom was particularly confounding. I have no idea what that was about. Perhaps this is another indicator of a need for terminology revision. Thanks for the call out. Like so many things in our hobby and life, we're quick to name categorize and lazily judge others as being in or out or good or bad, even when we can't even define the taxonomy well enough to agree on meaning or social value. I would like us all to do this less, myself included. Well, tell you, old school man, that was the purpose of kind of the episode, right? Just to talk it through. And if nothing else, even if Sean and I could not come up with a solid definition of what it is, sometimes you got to look back at it and go, God, this word it doesn't cut it, you know? And sometimes it's just a matter of you need to grab a thesaurus. You need to get a different term. You need to come up with, instead of trying to encapsulate a thing in one phrase, you do what Jared Rasher did and say, hey, this is a type of DM behavior. Maybe there's a better term for it. Excuse me. Perhaps coming up with a definition and then finding a word that fits it versus finding a easily grabbed word and then trying to cram a definition into that thing. So, fair point, man. I like it.
Yeah, thanks, old school DM.
Are we ready?
I think we are, man. Let's get on to the main topic.
Here we go.
Adversarial GMs tonight.
We're just going to use the term all the time, inappropriately. Actually.
AKA dickheads.
Actually, Matt asked back on some feedback on our episode 176, Random Encounter. Matt gave us some feedback. He was talking about immersion. And Phil and Chris have talked about this, and Bob, of course, back on Misdirected Mark, different levels and whatnot. And immersion is interesting to me. And I've listened to other people define what they think it is, and people say you can't ever have it, and blah, 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 or it's blah. It's another definition thing. So instead of, I want to take this one and kind of find a dictionary definition, start there. So immersion itself is the act of immersing someone or something in a liquid, which I kind of like because sometimes it's fun to play drunk. Maybe that's what we could use that. It's also right. Immersion also means a deep mental involvement. So, for example, his immersion in Jewish culture, as opposed to something immersed in the icy Atlantic Ocean. It's also a method of teaching a foreign language by exclusive use of that language, usually at a special school. So think about people who will tell you, the best way to learn a foreign language is to be immersed in it. If you're in Spain, you better learn how to speak friggin' Spanish, right? It's going to help drastically. Or
hey, when in Rome.
When in Rome, exactly. Or if you're guys like Eric Lamoureux or Stefan Dragonspawn, and you want to learn how to play role-playing games, you teach yourself English so you can buy these games, which is freaking amazing. Anyway, native French speakers from Canada. Anyhow, the I think there's some pieces around metagame and so forth, and I'm wondering, Sean, when someone says I want more immersion in my game, I want to feel immersed in the game, is that something Sean, do you care about, or what does it make? I guess first off, what does it make you think of? Does it make you think of being drunk, or does it make you think of being deeply involved, or what are you thinking there when you hear that? When you hear that, what does it make you think?
I get a big container of water, and I fill it with dice, and then I immerse the player into that water.
Nice, full-on baptism. That's what we do.
Yes. Ooh, hey, religious reference.
No, seriously though, when you think of your gaming, do you think like, I like immersion in my gaming? Does that bother you, or is that not even something you care for, or look for, or even think about?
I do care about it, and I do enjoy it.
So, how would you define it, Sean? When you feel immersed in the game, what do you think? What's happening for you?
In the game.
Yeah.
Well, so some examples may include speaking in a particular voice.
Oh, like we talked about with your Trail of Cthulhu guy, acting with an accent and therefore kind of fitting in that space. Okay, cool.
That's right. Maybe talking in first person versus my character. I do this. I do that.
Got it. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Maybe it's narrating quite a bit of stuff, right? So Dungeon World's big on the narration, so
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying, well, I swing my axe or I attack, right? I attack, roll my dice. It's I roll up to that thing, I pull out my sword, and I stab it in its freaking neck.
Yeah, a little more descriptive, something more oomph to it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, with all my weight and power.
Do you feel that? Okay, I'm buying that. I like that. I've talked to some people, and one of the things that people will say they don't like certain games for, crunchiness of GURPS or crunchiness of Pathfinder, is that they will say that the rules or Fate. We heard this from a listener a while back, who was talking about somebody complaining that Fate ruined their immersion. This is a lot of episodes back. I can't remember which one. If you can't remember yourself, just start at one and work your way forward to find it. But
right.
So when the rules come into play, when you have to stop to look up a rule, does that ruin your immersion, Sean? Does that bother you?
It could.
Like if it takes like a half hour to find a special rule for grappling, you're like, fuck, now I'm out of it. Now I'm playing a game. Is that what your brain is telling you, or what?
Yeah, to some degree. But it could also stop the flow of the game. So if you equate the flow of the game, so I think there's two different things there at play if you have to look up a rule.
Okay.
One could be the immersion piece. If you're talking about I'm playing in a game and I'm immersing myself into the role play, into the scene, into the situation, into the scenario, whatever how you define that. And then all of a sudden, stop, open up a book. We have to look that up. So it's not part of the continuing piece of the situation. It's that has to stop. I have to get out of that and look up a rule.
And then hopefully be able to dive right back into where you were.
And then get back into it and pick up where you left off within the game.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I gotcha. For me, when I think about immersion, that component of it, my group and I really like that piece, right, where you're just going. That's one of the reasons why I tend to be rulings over rules. And if someone at the table knows the rule, I'm very fortunate. Alpha is like the world's best rules lawyer because he just knows all the freaking rules. He's great. But if you don't have that person who's a decent non-dickhead rules lawyer to just rattle stuff off like that constantly for you, making a ruling at the table, then going back and figuring it out after, which we've talked about before. That's one of the reasons I do it, is because I want the flow to move, keep going. You'll see the excitement in people's eyes. They're going, they're rolling dice, they're attacking, or even they're having just a conversation with the king or with somebody on a Star Destroyer trying to figure out how to smooth talk their way past something. And, using the mechanics doesn't wreck the immersion as long as it flows, at least for my group. So if we're in that moment, we're talking, and we say, okay, like when we were playing in your Star Wars game, the FFG stuff. Okay, so it's 2 purples, 3 greens, da-da-da-da, go. Great, bam it. We were in the moment, and we didn't stop, go and necessarily look up specifically how this carousing mechanism or whatever would work. We made a call based on what we had for dice or what made the most sense. I'm picking carousing out of my pocket. But that, even with the tea leaf reading of the die colors and blah, 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 it didn't impact, for me anyway, what it felt like to be immersed in that game. When I was done with that session, we would play for 2 to 4 hours. I'm like, holy shit, 4 hours just blew by. Damn, it's midnight. I got to get to bed. When my group and I are playing, one of the things that has honestly kept me out of gaming at cons a lot of times is the distraction. Having a private place to play, like my buddy's basement, where I posted pictures up before, he's got this great bar, his wife makes homebrew, it's just amazing. He's got lights, he's got a sound system, miniatures book, it's just awesome. And even if that's not there, even if it's just in my house with my kids, I go to my library room where I record here, clean off the table, boom, you sit down and you game, and you shut the rest of the world out. And I think, for me, immersion isn't... it's easier to feel like I'm immersed in the character, I'm immersed in the world, and so on, if it's just me and my gaming friends, whether it be my kids, my wife is playing with me, or whatever's going on. I don't want the rest of the world to bother me. It's actually more annoying for me to stop because the guy delivering pizza rings the doorbell than it is to look up a rule. Because at that moment, we're immersed in the game, the entire concept of the game. And I hate being drug out of it. Like having to step outside to go get the pizza. Or, hey, we got to run and go get dinner. Oh, we forgot. Oh, I got to go, dog is sick. I got to go take the dog. Oh, I got to go do this thing because my wife, I got to run an errand real quick. That sucks, is getting drug out of that thing. So for me, that immersion is more of just being there and focusing on gaming. Nothing else is there. I don't think about work. I don't think about my family. I don't think about anything else going on. I don't think about hunting. I don't think about kids. I don't think about that near accident I had, ride motorcycle. I don't think about anything else. I'm just gaming. That's what I'm doing. And for me, that is the best type of immersion that I can go for. If people are in character and they're totally grooving on it, that's great. But playing the game and just focusing on it, I think all the rest of it, for me, comes a lot easier. I don't know if that's a long way to go, but I think that makes sense.
Brad puts on his game face.
Put my game face on.
He's like an NFL player about to hit the field. It's all about the game. I'm in the game. Is everybody with me on the game?
So I have my buddy Zave has done he's done sound systems for different bands, just local stuff at bars and other places. And before people go out to do something, they get nervous, right?
Sure.
And we're at a convention I was going to run. And he's like, dude, you don't have to do that. I'm like, what? He goes, you're doing the whole weird Showtime thing. I'm like, what? He goes, like, you're like trying to get your head in this weird zone.
Showtime.
I'm like, the fuck I am. He's like, oh, you're totally doing it. I've seen this before. I'm like, ah. But
Showtime.
Honestly, it's a thing where I want to be in that zone if there is such a thing. And that to me is immersion. I know some people have different definitions of what that is, but that is, so I guess to me, understanding what you like from an immersion perspective, and me saying, "Hey, this is the type of immersion I prefer." And if Kevin says, "Hey, I really like to feel this about my characters, like an emotional gut punch," or "This is immersion for me, so I can have this visceral feel," and someone else says, "This is their other style." Again, it's that all about talking. I think if you hash that out and talk about it, it's easier to understand why. If you're gaming with Brett, my preference is, I like a space that's just us. Obviously, you can't get that at a con. I'll run games at conventions now. It's not the end of the world. But I do my best to shut out the rest of the world around me and just focus on the table and what's going on. And I feel the best con games I've run, the Wraith game I ran at GameholeCon this last GameholeCon, was the better of the games I ran because I was able to block out everything else. I had no idea that there were even other people watching us or paying attention to what was going on, because it was just me and the table, and that was it. I didn't give a shit about anybody else around us. When I ran Iron Shoes, my Avalon game...
Brett's in the zone.
It was. And when I ran my Iron Shoes game, I felt really kind of out. I felt distracted, and that bothers the hell out of me. So Sean's just laughing at me. I can see it. I can see it in his face. Awesome.
There is just something about it where it's like putting on the game face. Putting on the game face,
Get in there, man.
It's like this weird ritual, like Brett's pacing in the locker room all by himself, headphones on, nothing else is affecting him, going back and forth, slapping himself on the shoulders.
You don't do anything like that? What's wrong with you? You don't like go out and kill something with your bare hands just before the game just to get the feel for blood or nothing? You don't do any of that? No,
I say a prayer to Jabu.
Nice.
You don't know that reference, let me know.
I don't, actually. What is that?
That's the baseball game, Major League, the movie.
Oh, okay.
Jabu.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, that's right. Oh, my God, yeah.
He's like pours him a little rum, and that guy's
yes,
like, fuck Jabu. And then he gets like cursed.
Yeah, that's right.
He's got this little voodoo ritual before he goes to the game.
I remember that.
Yeah, Serrano, I think is his name. Is it Serrano? I can't remember.
I can't remember either. Not Christian, sexy voice Serrano. Different Serrano.
That's not to be mistaken.
Not to be mistaken for.
Although I think that, I don't know.
So let me ask you this: is obviously I just said it's really valuable to me. How valuable is it to you? I mean, if you're playing a game and you don't have, Brett's immersion or your, does that throw you out of a game? You're like, it wasn't that fun. I was kind of there, but I could have played checkers. It would have been the same. Does not having, being able to talk in character, having constantly look up rules, having the flow disrupted, does that does that deep mental involvement, not having that, does that screw with you? Does it make the game less enjoyable for you?
I don't know. I can't say. It's hard to say. It's kind of situational.
This is it depends with a thesaurus. That's what happened. Sean I can see it, ladies and gentlemen. He's a thesaurus on his lap. He's looking up.
No. That is not true.
Not true.
I've grown as an individual.
Yes.
It's not always a depends response, Brett.
All right.
That was 2017.
Oh, that's
Sean.
right. This is the year of the Sean. This is the year of the Kelly. Stepping it up.
This is 2018, baby.
So I'll tell you, man, for me, the definition I gave at the top there, deep mental involvement in the game itself, everything that's going on, paying attention to the world, understanding what's going on, that makes a really good game session for me. If I don't have that, it's an average gaming session. I still like gaming with my friends, but if I don't get that, and at a con, if I don't get that, I'm like, it was good. It was fine. People seemed to have fun. It was fun. It wasn't like, oh my God, that was so good. When I'm done, I feel tired. I'm mentally exhausted because when you're, really deeply mentally involved in it, it's stressful in a way because you're really going and you're really into it. And if it's not there, it's like, it was good. Was it the best? Nah, it wasn't quite the best, but it was pretty good. But you, on the other hand, you just don't care. You'll get your kicks wherever you can.
I think it's a combination of a few of those things, though.
Okay.
I think it's a combination of being at the game and knowing that you're there. Okay, so on the Brett side of things, knowing I'm going to go to a game, and that's what we're going to do for the next 2 to 6 hours or whatever it is.
Yep.
Right? Okay, great. Now, mine probably isn't as strict as Brett's because, I like pizza. So the pizza guy or gal could show up, I'm all down with pizza.
See, that's just wrong.
I know it's wrong, but you'll probably still eat the damn pizza regardless, Brett.
I actually don't eat much while I game because it's distracting.
Such a whatever. All right. So then the other part is knowing what's going on and being involved, right? Whatever that is, however you define that, whether that's I'm in the scene, I'm talking in a voice or portraying my character in first person or interacting with the NPCs or knowing whose turn it is, which is another piece of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I've found myself at times where it's like, oh shit, my turn? Okay, what was Sean doing? I was dinking around on his phone.
So that's kind of that's the lack of involvement there. You're not in it.
Right. So being involved in that, and then I would say, I would say it's a combination of those things.
So, 2 questions for you. I'll ask this. Metagaming, does that throw you out then?
Metagaming. I don't know. Because I think there is certain times when metagaming is not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's also times when it shouldn't be the emphasis of the situation. But I also see that there are times when it's okay.
Okay.
So again, it goes back to what the situation is specifically, I think.
Okay.
So I think, I don't know.
So that's fair. I think it's some games.
Some games are like that.
Yeah, some games almost mechanically encourage metagaming, right?
Right.
So let's take it the other way, or not the other way, but let's take it from this angle. So if I'm at a table and I am the most game face guy there, that doesn't necessarily bother me unless the other men and women who are playing with me are essentially really checked out or don't take it seriously, right? And seriously isn't like, this is life and death, because it is just a game, or it's fun, and whatever. But,
get in
the goddamn game! What's wrong with you?
Brett is the Bobby Knight. He's the Bobby Knight game master.
Throwing chairs, screaming at people.
That's right.
Fire warning shot across the table. Fuckers! Get a goddamn game! Anyway.
Just frickin' read the room description!
If someone's clearly not paying attention, that irritates the crap out of me. As a player, it actually bothers me more. Because doing a lot of game mastering, when someone is not paying attention, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? And I look at the game master, I'm like, do you want me to hit him, or are you just going to verbally slap him, or do you want me to say something? Because I think it's rude to not pay attention. So it can ruin's a strong word, but it can impact my enjoyment of the game if people aren't bothering to pay attention and take it seriously.
Brett, you are a serious game master. Is that a safe statement?
I joke, I tell jokes, we have fun.
You do?
Yeah. Well, you've run with me, dude.
Oh, yeah.
You played with me.
I don't remember ever laughing.
Well, with a full Nelson and your head stuck in a toilet, that's pretty hard to do.
Everybody else was laughing.
Everybody else was having a good time. Anyway, you don't remember laughing? Come on, you guys laughed.
Well, I mean, it was serious, man. It was called Cthulhu. It's deep, you know.
Fine.
Wow.
So anyway, I guess I'm serious. I don't know. Serious. Now you're making serious sound like a bad word now.
Well, I mean, I don't think being serious is bad, but I'm also like, there's also some people when you get to the table, it is literally freaking game time, man.
I am not
all that other shit. Hey, all right, small talk. That shit ends right now.
Yeah, I can't do that. That's too far.
Yeah,
that's too far.
Well, it is a hobby.
It is a hobby
after all,
and,
right?
And there's I'm not getting paid for this. And there's clearly at least in my opinion, there's clearly a time. Sometimes you look up a rule, somebody says something that's just funny. It's like at a double, triple entendre, like yeah, that's what she said. I mean, those jokes happen. Oh my God, yeah, that reminds me of that other time when oh my God, and the Monty Python joke comes out or whatever else happens. It's fine. When that stuff happens all the time, the game devolves into just a casserole of nonsense. That's a bit much for me. But I think if I'm the most serious person at the table and everybody else just doesn't give a shit and they're just here to... Basically, it kind of goes to what one of the listeners was saying above is if you're looking to sit down, play a beer and pretzels game, kill orcs and take their stuff, and that's not what I came for, or not what we agreed upon, then... that gets a little cranky. Then I can get a little cranky about that. Sean, have you ever had your immersion ruined by somebody else? Your level of what you like?
Oh yeah, I've had a gamer at the table, a close personal friend of mine I've known for years, get like 20,000 text messages in an hour, which and then so it's not the 20,000 text messages in an hour, it's the fielding of those text messages, which contributes to that individual being bopped out of the game, not knowing what the hell is going on, and not paying attention. And therefore, that is a problem. So every once in a while, I get it, like, hey, I lost track, or hey, I had to go to the bathroom, what's going on, what's new, hey, I got a soda, what'd they say? I get that. That's not a big deal.
I mean, I'm on call from work periodically. I've got friends of mine who are on call. Shit breaks. You got to go.
What the hell? That shit should be shut down, Brett. Shut down game time.
I'm working on it.
The Enterprise is shut down? Hey, tough shit. I'll get to it after I'm done.
Yeah, once I'm done fighting a dragon, I got serious shit to do here. Oh, yeah, China isn't up. What the fuck do I care?
Right.
I'll get to it when I get to it.
Whoop-de-frickin-doo.
Yeah, shut up.
Come on, priorities, people.
Exactly.
So it's happened to me. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, do you take steps personally to ensure that you get the immersion that you're looking for? That you're involved.
Yeah, I don't invite that guy back to the table.
That's a very good point, actually. If you got people who, and this is one of the reasons why I try to carefully pick the people I want to game with, because I want to game with people who in my home group that are serious. Obviously, at a convention, it's kind of luck of the draw whoever wants to play with you. And I assume everybody there to be serious because they're at a freaking gaming convention, for Christ's sake. But I don't just pick anybody, say, hey, come game with my home group. It'll be great. And then find out that they aren't serious about it,
Well, that's the key to this whole damn hobby, right? And that sometimes gets us in trouble, and sometimes it's kind of the deal. We want to game with people that have a similar type of approach to gaming. It may not be the exact same. It may not have the exact same sentiments, but at least philosophically speaking, at a higher level, they've got to be somewhat in the understanding realm. Or you just understand that person's going to be the joker at the table and you don't really give a shit, and then you've just known them for years and years, and it's just kind of par for the course.
Yep.
But
I've seen that.
Yeah. You got to have that kind of chemistry and trust and some of that stuff at the same time at the table.
So if we go back to like the deep mental involvement definition of immersion, because that's pretty much what we're going for here. It's like, look, I got my game face on. I want to be deeply involved. Sean wants to be a talking character, do his thing, get involved. Excuse me. I have found as a game master one of the ways to help invoke that at the table and to get other people in the same space is to provide as evocative and narrative type of descriptions as I can when I'm describing something. I do my best to try to pull that out. And then when a player says something boring, I try to elicit a better description out of them. And when people say they're going to do something really cool, reward them in some way, saying, "Well, yeah, okay, you're doing X. That was very evocative, really great narration. Here's you get advantage, or you have a bonus die, or I'll give you a +2, or a
treat,
or a treat. Yeah, some kind of a Scooby snack, some kind of a you can go get a slice of pizza. You may have pizza."
Scooby snack.
You may be fed. Good gamer. Go get a snack.
Oh my God.
But I honestly think that, I mean, it's simple things like, and I'm checking the notes here, but as the game master and as a player, for me, when I'm giving out descriptions and stuff, I try not to, unless necessary, like, hey, you take 10 points of damage, because we're using hit points, because apparently that's what all smart people do, is they use hit points. And we need to mark that off on a character sheet.
Does the system have hit points?
Of course it does.
Well, there you go.
The giant swings, massive club, crush, you take 25 points of damage. Holy crap, off you go. But you don't describe everything in mechanical terms. If you use, and this is kind of just goes into being descriptive and, again, evocative in what you're telling the players. And the same as the players back to each other and back to the game master. The more you can do that, speaking of outage, are you freaking kidding me? Something in Melbourne just went down. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Why do I care about this? Anyway, I got a text. just want to let you know, Sean.
Are you on call?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, I got a problem.
People at your level are on call?
Yeah, it's...
What the hell is that shit about?
Yeah, it's going to get fixed. Anyway.
You need to talk to another recruiter and find a different job.
I should. God damn it, I've got talent. I was in the game, and someone took me out of it. I'm going to murder someone right now.
You were immersed in this podcast.
I was immersed, and now it's gone.
Now
Start over. Fuck it. Done.
Shot to shit.
And done. Anyway, where the hell was I? Back into it. So, when someone's paralyzed, the ghoul reaches out, black clawy talons hit you, and you're paralyzed. You feel your muscles solidify, and you just stop. You're like, shit, how long does this last? You don't know. Don't go, well, roll a d4. It's 4 rounds or whatever it is. Trying not to talk mechanics at the table. It's kind of almost a metagamey thing. For me, helps with that deep mental involvement. I don't mind mechanics at the table, but when they're not necessary, it makes sense to withhold them or to use other narrative ways to describe things. That helps for me, and I try to do that.
There's something to be said about the immersion piece and what you were just saying, Brad, exactly, which is the player characters. This goes back to metagaming. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think is that bad, Sean? Is that not bad for you? Whatever. And I say that if a player character would know in some way or another, then great. But if the player character would not know, then why would the player? Well, maybe that's being a little harsh, maybe a little too black and white. But it goes back to what you were saying with, well, you don't know how long you're going to be paralyzed for, as opposed to click. All right, you're paralyzed for 3 rounds. Okay, this is the 3rd round. You should be unparalyzed.
Yep. Some people actually like to know because they play a very tactical game, and for them, part of the immersion. And this is where I think groups, DMs, players, game masters, and all that stuff, we having the talk and understanding what it means for you to be immersed. Some people are like, look, I like to play an uber tactical game, and knowing that I've paralyzed the bad guy for 3 rounds, or that he's paralyzed my partner for 3 rounds, helps us figure out how to defeat this thing. I mean, the whole game is a tactical back and forth, this chess match of who can defeat the Ogre Lord. Great, if that's how you guys get your kicks, and that's the way it goes. It's not my style of gaming, but if you really enjoy that, then that type of immersion is awesome, because you want to share that knowledge. You want to share that mechanical knowledge, because then you're using that back and forth. It's a little more wargamey, in my opinion, but I know some people who really enjoy that. But I think whatever deep mental involvement, to go back to the definition one more time, whatever deep mental involvement means to you, I think it's worth a little bit of introspection, figure out, hey, that's what it is. I like to be serious about it. So what does serious mean, Brett? Well, that means I don't like distractions. I like to be in the moment. We can have some table talk, some goofing around. We can tell some jokes, but then Brett will say, all right, back to the game. All right, enough about that. Hey, stop that, guys. We got to focus over here. And making sure that everybody understands that. I think that introspection, talking about it at the table, is really good, because this goes kind of to adversarial GMing in a way, in that, and I think I mentioned it earlier, is don't assume the rest of the group is just going to figure out how you play. Because no one is required to sit back and go, boy, I think this is... Sean seems irritated. I bet he doesn't like the fact that we're all on our cell phones during the entire game.
Man, I've done 178 freaking episodes. If somebody doesn't know by now, goddamn it.
Yeah, that's for you. But you know what I'm saying?
True.
We got to, as players and game masters, don't, I think, assuming someone will figure it out. Oh, they'll figure out how I run my games. Ha, ha, ha. Or they'll figure out that this is the style of play I like. That's just crap, honestly, at this point. This is to get to the Johnny B. Good side of things. Talk about this shit instead of, Earth Angeling it and just bring it and saying, well, they'll figure it out. Don't do that. Explain, hey, I like to be deeply involved in my games, and that means I don't want to play in an open gymnasium with a basketball game going. It's not comfortable for me. I'd prefer to play someone's house, a library, something. That's my preference. Oh, well, we can't have that. We can only play over here. Fine, we can let that go. But I want to make sure we're serious when we're playing. What do you mean by that, Brett? Well, I like this. And Sean says, well, I don't like a lot of metagaming. Can we have, telling me how many rounds I'm paralyzed for just takes me out of the game. I don't like that. I like to be focused on these things. And sometimes immersion may be a topic that people don't think about. I think as such, sometimes people talk about how they like certain style of play or certain things to come up. But if they really, if someone says, hey, look, I really like an emotional gut punch in my game, that emotional type of play, that goes to immersion. I'm in the game. I'm feeling deeply involved in this thing when these activities happen or these phrases are used with me in the game. And that's what you like. And I think it's definitely worth saying that out loud to the group. All right. I think we hit this one enough. What do you think?
Yeah, good stuff.
All right. So obviously, someone's going to tell us we're wrong.
Well, if there's something where somebody's like, yes, you did all this and you said all that, but what I'm trying to look for is X or Y, let us know. We're certainly willing to elaborate for sure.
Especially Matt. I mean, this was a topic that you brought up to us, so I hope Sean and I hit what you're talking about. And if not, come back at us, and we will fine-tune where we can for you, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Die roll. Clicky, clicky. Die roll, Brett. Start us off, buddy.
So Eric Tenkar from Tenkar's Tavern, patron of the show, friend of ours, pointed out, this is how I learned it, but Mayfair Games is no more. Long-standing Mayfair Games, been around for quite some time. But, excuse me, from the look of it, after 36 years, not an easy decision or one we took lightly, but it was necessary. They reached out to Asmodee, and they're pleased to announce that they have sold our games to Asmodee North America, who have acquired all the assets to Mayfair Games Incorporated. Acquisition includes a product line for both Mayfair Games Incorporated and Lookout Games, and so on. Interesting. So Mayfair Games, she is no more. It's been one of those game companies that it's been around as long as I've been gaming. It's just kind of a staple. So I can't tell if it's sad or not, but hopefully Asmodee will do some good things with it. And this has been making its rounds. Old Spice. They put together a D&D class. A little link in the show notes to this over to thenerdist.com. It's just funny. It's a gentleman class for Dungeons & Dragons. It's hilarious to me. Anyway, this is out there. And if you haven't seen it yet, take a look. It's worth a chuckle. Sean, over to you, sir.
Mr. Chris Hoffer posts on comicbook.com. the article, publisher releases Game of Thrones style campaign compatible with D&D. So if you're interested in a Game of Thrones style campaign compatible with D&D, you'll want to check that one out. I think it's like...
It's called Sellswords. Grim and Gritty.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Number dose. Lord of the Rings pinball made out of Lego.
Oh my God, I'm looking at this. This is awesome.
Posted by Andrew Lazuski on IO9. Check that out. It's pretty freaking cool.
Lord of the Rings and Lego, two of my favorite things.
I'm a bigger fan of the traditional pinball machine, maybe even just the digital. The old ones, even the old analog ones, were kind of cool, but I think the digital ones are cooler.
I've not played enough pinball. Kind of neat though. Anyway,
Pinball Wizard. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Number 3, are D&D gems based on any sort of real science? So
what?
I removed the YouTube video from the blog article that was very much not blog article, and just linked directly to the YouTube video. It's about 5 minutes. It talks about the weight of gold and how much gold would a diamond be, or how
Actually
many
worth.
gems. Yeah, kind of thing.
So a buddy of mine had I have a currency exchange. Obviously, how many coppers equals a silver equals a gold piece from Avalon setting. And my buddy Lenny happens to be a coin collector. So he went out and got some gold coins and copper and silver, and has enough so that you can have 1 copper's worth of silver and then enough copper's worth of gold, and put them in different bags. And it's crazy how many like 1,000 silver pieces is. That's a lot of freaking coins. It's fucking heavy. Once you physically see it, it's nuts. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, and from listeners' perspective, Eric Farmer had pointed us out to some hand-drawn equipment packs. So, link in the show notes to this basic weapons new item card pack. It's kind of cool. It's a little some hand-drawn card packs. You can take them, fold them, backpacks, boxes, all sorts of different bits and pieces. So, kind of cool. Wanted to share that out with everybody if you hadn't seen it on the Google Pluses where he posted it. And that's it, man.
Right. Thanks, everybody. What are we talking about next week, Bratster?
We're going to talk about, the Pure Mongrel gave us a really nice, very lengthy, but really good Gmail post. We hadn't heard from Mongrel in a while. Talk about, leading the forefront of Paladinhood out there as he is. But talking about keeping the energy up in your games. It's all about, because I figured we would go from immersion to keeping the energy up, because you got to get your fucking game face on, Sean. Get in the game, man. Where's the energy?
God, there goes my speakers.
Anyway, we're gonna talk about that next time.
Oh, excellent. All right. Well, having said that, that's a wrap. So, I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night and good game and all.
This episode of Gaming and BS brought to you with the help from the following BSers. Kevin Lovecraft, Joe Swick, Brett's biggest fan, Forrest DeGarry, Mark Anthony Benedetti, Eric Jeppesen, Sean Nicholson, Tim Jensen Pladian, Remy Bellodo, Jason Hobbs, Wayne Humfleet, James Carpio, Pure Mongrel, Lord Tentacle, Corey Johnston, Brandon Barnes, Dan LaValle, C.W. Mellencamp, The Lost Sailor, Todd McGowan, Misdirected Mark Productions, Christopher Gray, Finnulf, Merkel Froelich, Eileen Barnes, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Todd Crapper, Michael Drescher with Static, Alexander Auerbach, Neil Benson, Ron Blessing, Chris Steele, Eric the Hoffman, Soldiers of Misfortune RPG, Christopher Lang, Curtis Takahashi, Mark Tasaka, Larry Hout, Ray Otis, Ron Bishop, Craig Huber, Xavier G, JV, John Hammersley, Derelict Radio, John Steve, Jared Rasher, Mark Richmond, Thomas Hook, Blake Ryan, Chad Glayman, Sky, Roger Braslett, Evan Harrison Cass, Craig, Howard Bishop, Christian Sexy Voice Serrano, Jim Fitzpatrick, Peter Scannis, The Knights of the Night Crew, Josh Wallace, Corey Welch, Eli Kurtz, Gordon Cranford, Andy Hall, Corey Wynn, and Graham Meinert. In order to support the show, head over to gamingandbs.com/support-us for ways to support us. Thanks, BSers!
This has been a Litterbox Studio production.